2010, when a 12-year-old boy got off a bus not too far from where we're standing, excited with a pair of shoes, and was shot to death. I was talking to my brother Gerald, and we were sharing that there's been so much blood in between these two parking lots right here. All as a result of gun violence. It was about 2010 when I first began my journey in looking at violence as a disease. Now that's some 11 years ago, with the understanding that if we did not begin to treat this pandemic in a significant way, that it would continue to spread throughout our community and cause nothing but more harm, and a harm that would transcend a single generation, but impact generations to come. See, what we know at this point is that public safety is one element of the conversation, but public health is what our community has always lacked and really needed. If our public health is in place, we don't have the need for public safety to manifest itself in the way that it does today. I've never needed to call an ambulance when I was healthy, nor would I need police if there wasn't an incident of violence for them to come and interrupt. And so we launched a strategy where we engaged a broad community of people, brought them in. They were part of this program called Alive and Free, where we were doing response to gang and group violence as it manifested itself in the community. And let me tell you, it worked at moments. Because when these outreach workers were engaged with the young people when they were serving, these young people would have terrific gains. Things would go really well. And the minute that those outreach workers needed to transition and begin to support other young people, those gains would begin to dip. Now at this time, I was also serving as a minister in the community. And we would not only support young people on street corners on one weekend, I would find myself supporting their families, preparing for their funeral services on subsequent weekends. See, where we missed was that we had a strategy to intervene, but we did not have a strategy to change the material conditions that were manifesting themselves in the lives of the young people who needed them the most. And that's what makes this intervention different. That's what makes this investment different. That's what makes this strategy different. Is that all of us, regardless of the organizations we come from, our reputations in community, our positions in the county, whether we're elected or employed, all of us are surrendering those identities for the sake of the collective us. And we're simply saying that if we are all strategically positioned along this continuum, we can not only meet the needs of young people in their most urgent moments, but we can be present along the way to not only meet their needs, but meet their siblings' needs, meet their parents' needs, and ultimately change the way that the conditions of the home is so that we can stop the spread of this disease of violence. I'm exhausted. I echo the sentiments of Derek Wheeler, what we've witnessed when COVID-19 ravaged our community, that Gurmai spoke to, the significant, dramatic ways that we've gone to shift and change our world in order to make sure those who are vulnerable of the disease don't catch it so they don't die. I can't help but ponder that if it wasn't an elderly, largely white population that was most dramatically impacted by the disease of COVID-19, what if it was a mostly younger black population that was impacted by the disease of COVID-19? How would our response nationally have been different?
Come on. Say that. Come on.
I care not for what may have happened nationally, but I care deeply for what's happening right here. And this response is different. This response is transformative, and this response will change our community for the better. But it's not just how we respond today, it's how we show up tomorrow. Not just with our enthusiasm to serve, but with the resources we pour into the communities that need it the most. We can't simply have those from the community show up in critical moments, begin to triage what's happened without pouring resources back into the community to prevent it from happening in the first place. This is going to require a collective push and a collective us to keep this on the forefront of the mind of the electeds, so that those dollars that they hold, those dollars that they steward in that county budget, continue to pour into places like unincorporated Skyway, so that neighborhoods that have been dramatically neglected for decades upon decades, when old retired Boeing employees begin to leave the neighborhood and black and brown folks begin to move into the neighborhood and all that investment began to leave the neighborhood, when those retirees left the neighborhood, what are we left with? We can see it happening year after year, generation after generation, but this can be the end. We have the cure. We have the desire. We have the moment that is now. What we need is the stamina to continue to move this thing forward, not just by the feet and hands of those who are serving, but by the voices of those who are being served, and by the voices of those that may never touch or be impacted by gun violence in the way that many of us standing here today have. I believe in a future, family, where a 12-year-old boy can step off a bus carrying a pair of brand new shoes and safely return home to his mother.
That's right, that's right.
That doesn't seem far-fetched to me. That doesn't seem like an elusive dream. It seems like a reality that's within our grip. But in order to hold on to that dream, we have to let go of what we suppose. I believe today is that moment where we release that which was and begin to embrace that which is. This Regional Peacekeepers Collective will be a catalyst for what our community needs to heal, for what our community needs to thrive, to bring public health into spaces so that policing is no longer necessary in the manner that we begin to depend upon it today. God bless Adrian. I appreciate Adrian. I co-labored with Adrian for years. And I would be perfectly fine if I never had to see Adrian in a uniform at all. Because our community does not need to be dependent upon law enforcement in order to be safe.
That's right.
Because what we have is us. And when we step up with our solutions, when we step up with our cure, when we step up in our positional power and hold it within us, and we demand that the resources begin to fund our solutions, nothing is impossible. So today's the day. It's the launch. It's the kickoff. We're here. Media is here. Folks are paying attention. God bless y'all. But we're going to be in these streets tomorrow, the day after, the day after, the day after, and the day after. And I'm going to need all of y'all, those that are present and those that are watching, to keep up that enthusiasm. You know, every morning I wake up and my wife asks me a question. She says, "How did you sleep?" And I say, "Next to an angel." We'll be celebrating 10 years of marriage in September. Now, I've been telling her the same thing for 10 years. And she does not get tired of hearing it, but I'm gonna tell you this. People ask me, "How do you do this so well?" I say, I keep up the same energy. The same energy I came into my marriage with is the same energy I'm leaning in with it today. And the same energy we're coming into this project with, this collective with, is the same energy we're gonna keep moving with, but we need the collective us to keep this thing moving forward. King County is dramatically white, super white. About 8% of the folks in the county are black. That means 92% of the people in the county are not. That means we can't do it alone. We will need the collective us to lift this thing up. We'll need our white brothers and sisters and non-binary siblings to be able to step in and step up and resource these efforts so we can continue to push them forward. But I believe, and not only do I believe, I see the manifestation of that conviction in front of me right now. So with that, let's continue to hand out these lock boxes. Let's continue to lift up this movement. And let's continue to rely on the strength of the collective us. We have what we need within. Let's just activate it today. God bless y'all.